What's up, fam? Welcome to WTF with the Facts podcast with Marielle. I am Marielle, and today I am really excited. It has been first of all, a crazy week in our country, in our world, and I'm like, wherever you can find joy, you need to find joy. And so, to me, having joy is talking to friends, and so I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to be taking a deep dive into Insecure, which is Molly and Issa's relationship. And if you're watching Insecure, you already know the drama that has unfolded with those two. So I have two friends here with me that I'm going to introduce. The first one is Melanie Ivey. So she is an emotional intelligence coach. She is bomb.com, and I'm really excited to have her here. So I'm actually going to add her right now. There she is. Hey, Mel.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. Listen, because this episode you have us focused on today. Listen, that's all I got to say.
Yes. So I'm excited. And now I'm actually going to introduce you guys to Pamela Merritt. So she is a licensed therapist. And I always appreciate her perspective on stuff because she'll say things. I'm like, dang, I didn't even think about that. That's good. So always an awesome perspective. So I'm really excited to have her. So y'all say what's up to Pamela when I meet her there. There she is.
Hi.
Marielle
and Melanie,
hey,
girlfriends.
How you doing?
Good. I'm excited about this. I've been with Insecure since Insecure started. So
Yes.
I have seen all of the ups and downs of Issa and Molly's friendship. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, this season has been insane. We've kind of watched the unraveling, and we've watched them be in two totally different places. I think that's part of the unraveling.
Yes.
But there was a moment in particular that we saw, and I'm like, oh my God, that to me was the pinnacle of, oh crap, they are completely off. And so I actually want to show that clip really quickly. So for people who don't watch Insecure, I think this scene will catch you up. I have to warn you, there is explicit language. I'm not going to bleep out the cursing or any of that because I believe that cuss words help us express emotions, and they clearly were having a moment. So they needed to say everything they need to say. So I'm going to show this clip, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. Okay.
Drive safe, girl.
Can I talk to you?
Yeah.
Did you tell Nathan to talk to Andrew about Vince?
I did. Nathan reached out about the block party and I needed help. So.
But we had a conversation.
I know, and I didn't involve you.
Yeah, but you still got my man to do you a favor.
And it all worked out, right?
That's not the point, Issa. You deliberately went behind my back. I mean, I was very clear about how I felt, but I guess what? That didn't mean anything to you?
Because, Molly, you were willing to let me fail? Over what? Some random rule you made up?
It wasn't random. I was setting boundaries.
Molly, you knew how much this event meant to me. You saw me at We Got Y'all, you saw me struggling, and you decided your new relationship was more important than doing me one little ass favor?
Nigga, you stay needing one little ass favor.
Why are you doing this at my event right now? Is it that serious?
Hey, you don't gotta do this, guys. We were just having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I was over there wobbling with your shady ass. Meanwhile, you stabbing me in the back?
Stabbing you in the back? Molly, this is OD. I don't have time for your drama. Okay? You keep starting shit. You keep making up problems. You keep focusing on shit that I need to fix when you need to fix your fucking self.
Bitch, do you hear yourself? Nobody has more drama than you, Issa. Okay? You need to figure out your shit and stop using people. You use Nathan, Andrew, me, who else?
Guys, let's not do this here.
See? You are so miserable. If things don't work out with Andrew, it's not gonna be because of me, girl.
Fuck you.
Fuck me, I've been stopped fucking with you.
I should have dropped your lying ass a long time ago. You still the same selfish bitch you always been.
Molly, get your finger out of my fucking face.
What you gonna do? What's she reaching for?
Oh,
That was,
Listen,
that was a lot.
yes, it was.
Let me stop this.
And on that note,
That was a lot.
You got me saying
Right. If you got your cups ready, just go ahead and take a sip after
My
that, because that was
goodness.
a whole lot going on right there.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Melanie, I'm gonna ask you first. When you saw that, what was one of the first things you thought, and what did you feel when you saw that moment?
I felt anxiety. I felt betrayal. I felt my character is at stake. You know, you questioning who I am at this point. I felt like you totally don't even give a, hoot about what I'm dealing with, and you don't care about me. I felt off guard. I felt angry. I felt Melinda rise up in me as I named my alter ego.
I love it.
It's not very nice. And so I've only seen her a couple of times, but I felt all of that. I felt a lot of stuff in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I felt really hurt at the same time as well. So I felt a lot.
That was a lot. Pamela, what were your first like thoughts, emotions when you saw that?
When Andrew said that he had talked to the guy that works with Issa, and I saw Molly's face, it was like watching a wreck, because you can't stop it, but from the time the season started, we've been watching it like a landslide. Like, it has been a disaster that's just been building and building and building. And when she went in Issa's direction, I got anxious and nervous, because there was so much that they haven't discussed. I knew that this confrontation was going to be bad. And it's not bad just because of this single incident. It's bad because there have been incidents that have just not been addressed. And now this one is like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, no.
Yes.
Don't do
Oh my
it.
God.
Don't do
Oh my
it.
God. So
Yeah.
for me, the first thing I felt was, excuse my language to everybody who's watching mine. Oh shit. Like, it's real. They are like, are you
They
serious?
went at it.
And Molly looked like she wanted to fight.
Yeah.
I was like, so for me, it was y'all are gone. Like,
Yeah.
how quickly did this escalate? And like you're saying, there's so many unspoken things that did not happen.
Yeah.
That y'all got to this point. And the second thing I felt was, I was like, no respect is anymore. Because to me, even when you're angry with your friend, there's still that modicum of respect. Like, I'm not gonna do this at her event, but I'm gonna tell her off tomorrow.
Absolutely.
She did not care that it was her event. She was about
No.
to act a whole fool
Yeah.
and just be like, screw your event, screw you. I got to say this. Went behind my back. Like, she did not care. So it was like that level of respect was just like gone. And I was like, wait, how did we graduate to this?
Yeah.
And so I think it's what you said, Pamela, of those unspoken. So let's talk about that. When there are things that are happening in our friendships that we know been bothering us, or there's been certain traits that have been bothering us, but we haven't said anything. I think most times it's because we don't like the confrontation. We just kind of think, okay, it'll work itself out. Right. Or, I just don't want to look like I'm complaining about stuff. But clearly these two show the example of, you might want to have like a little talk or conversation. So for people who are in that space of, I've been knowing for a minute something's off, I need to say something, but I really don't want to say something. Like, how do you usually navigate that with your friendships? Like, do you just address it head on? Do you like, okay, let me wait a minute? How does that even work?
You go first, Mel.
I go first. I went first last time. Well, a lot of thoughts came to me when you said that. I was thinking there are levels to friendships first and foremost. So it's a lot of assumptions we're making. That we know that in this case, they are, they're really good friends. They've grown up together. They have years of history. However, over the years, I think the word friendship has been mislabeled by people and how they use it. Because friendship involves trust. It involves honesty. In some ways, it involves some kind of commonality as well. And that respect, first and foremost, has to be there. So you got to respect that I'm different and I bring my bag of experiences with me. And you bring your bag of experience with you, and we respect each other for what we initially have as commonalities. But then as we grow and change, we continue to support each other or be there for, or be in a position where we are able to weigh in whether this is something I want to continue on the path I'm going or not. So in that case, I think that friendship is, I think it's relative. You gotta figure out what's going on with you. So tell me what the question was, girl, because I done went somewhere else.
So when you as a friend, if you're feeling like there's some weird tension or something's off, like do you just in your mind be like, okay, maybe it'll work itself out? No. How do you? Because some people, like I said, are afraid of conflict, so they're like, I don't want to say anything. So like, usually, how do you handle? Like, do you say something? Do you not say something? How does that happen?
It depends on what it is. If it's one of my things, one of the things that you just can't break, like it's the deal breakers for me, then we're gonna address it there. We're not gonna address it at that moment, but I'm gonna give you the respect enough to say, okay, well, we need to talk about this because this is one of the things that to me is one of my core values. A lot of people don't think about that, but your core values could be like you gotta have honesty, respect, open, whatever that is for you. If it's broken and it's meaningful enough to you, yes, I will address it. If it's something that I'm still getting to know you, that kind of friendship, I don't know you yet, then I'll give you a pass. I'll give you 3 passes. That's all you get. I'm just trying to figure out, is this just, you just had a bad day, or I don't really know you, or you don't feel comfortable, something popped off, and then I just happen to be in the path when you popped off on me. It's a lot of factors. So, but me as a person, I would address if it's one of my core values that you done, stepped over the line on, because if I value the friendship, I value you understanding my perspective, and I value enough to talk it through. I'm not going to assume anything and attack you, but I need you to know that bothered me and why it bothered me, and let's talk about it to see whether or not this is something we can resolve, or this is something that I need to just make a note of that you don't give a hoot about, and I need to then at that point reevaluate. Do I need you in my life at that point for this? If it's something that's a deal breaker for me. If it's something, like I said, that it's just something, okay, well, she got a little out of tone with me. Maybe she just, I'll give you really the benefit, because that's not one of my core things. If you get out of tone with me, I'll give you lots of passes until I know what the reason is. If it's just because you just being janky, then okay, well, I have to make a decision whether I want you in my path, because that whole space of honoring your energy is serious, and what you're doing, are you building me up or you building me down? So I'm real big on that. Yeah, I know I talk a lot. That's just the way my brain works.
No, that's good.
That was good. That was
I know. What are your thoughts? Like, how do you navigate it?
For me, I have evolved because I am a very confrontational type of person. So I was one of those people where if something was off, I was the queen of just cut off. I'll just cut you off. And I had to learn that was a defense mechanism that I was using. It was a coping skill, and it was unhealthy. The way that I was using it was unhealthy. And so I had to evolve, and I can think of one specific person who meant enough to me for me to change the way I address conflict. I would have these bouts of conflict with a friend of mine when we were just starting to be friends, maybe about 2 years in, a year or two in, and stuff would always come up where I would get this vibe from her that was off. And I had to recognize, Pamela, you value this friendship enough to figure out what the problem is. And so what I would do, instead of cutting her off like I would normally do in my other friendships, I would just say, come here for a second, because I need to talk to you about something. And so the way I approach conflict and difficult conversations is I start by talking about how I feel. I feel like this. I feel like over the past couple of weeks, I've been having this feeling and I don't necessarily know what it's about, but what I'm getting from you is this. So help me understand if I'm misunderstanding it and I'm internalizing it the wrong way, or if there's something going on with you and it's being projected onto me. So what I found out, and I'm just using this particular friendship as an example, is that it was always a misunderstanding. And it wasn't anything that I did. It was just misinterpreted, either behavior, something that was said, or body language. But I also think that misinterpretation to that degree has a lot to do with the person. It has to do a lot with how in tune they are to themselves. Because every time I would confront this person about the way they were acting towards me, they were completely oblivious. But it was because they weren't in tune with all the internal stuff that they had going on. It was just like, I'm just going to suppress this internal stuff and project it onto everybody else. And so I was really glad, because I was glad that I did that, because that taking inventory of the value of my friendships, and when I feel something is off, taking the initiative, whether I think I'm right or wrong, to go to that person to say, hey, I've been feeling like this, and this feels really off. Do you feel anything off? And if you do, what is it? Let's talk about it, because your friendship is valuable to me. And if I've done something, I have no problem with apologizing from top to bottom. And if you've done something, or there's something going on with you, and we discovered that in the process of our conversation, I want to lend my support to you as a friend if you have something personal going on that you need to work through. So that's just how I approach a difficult conversation. I approach it with no judgment, because I don't know what's going on. And until I do understand what's going on, I don't want to jump to make any type of conclusions, because I'm one of those people who operates off of what I think a lot of times. And if I'm feeling some kind of way, it's going to come through in my behavior. So I need to go to my friend that I love and that I value and be as sensitive as possible based on, whatever personality they have, and just put it on the table to salvage my friendship, and then make a decision. Like Mel said, like, once we get it all out, then I can make a decision about how I'm going to move forward. But I don't have siblings. So this is a huge topic for me, like talking about the value of friendships, because my friends are like my sisters and brothers. So yeah, I try my best to approach it, put it on the table. Let's work through it. Our friendship is more valuable than this. I value you. So let's, if it's work throughable.
Right.
Work
Yes.
throughable.
I am the one that I don't like confrontation. Like I'm like, oh no, maybe I'm making it up. And then it happens again. I'm like, okay, no, maybe I just misread that. And then it happens again. I'm like, no. But then I think maybe because I'm getting older, or maybe, therapy and getting older and all of these things. Like for me, I know I operate from a very emotional place. Mm-hmm. So if I keep seeing something, I usually have to take a moment to reflect on it and look at every angle, right? Yeah, so you could do 3 weeks ago. But for me, I have to process it. I got to look at it. Okay, maybe I misread that, because I know if I address something right in a moment, I'm probably going to say the wrong thing. Because I'm like, what you had an attitude. It's like, I'm going to do that. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And so it takes me a minute to process, like, okay, maybe they didn't mean that, or maybe they did mean that. Did I do so? Like, so I'm walking through everything. But I think the thing that I've grown out of, or still learning to grow out of, is to not give a person the voice that I give them, let them speak for themselves. Like you'll make up your own internal conversation and they going off. And so you got an attitude now. And it's like, but they never even said that. And so for me, like I wait until I feel like I'm in a steadier place to address it. And then we have the conversation. I think one of the bigger reasons why a lot of people don't like the interaction or having to address something is because you don't know how the other person's going to respond. Because even in your mind, you feel like I lay out my argument, they're going to hear it and be reasonable, right? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Like, so I feel like because you can't control the other person's perspective, you are like, I don't want to address it because you just don't know what you're going to walk into. I mean, yeah, they're your friend, but people immediately when you're like, I was offended by, or I keep feeling this, people tend to get defensive. I mean, that's just natural. And so I usually don't like to, but I've had to grow out of being scared. Because I'm like, if I'm considering this person to be my friend, I should be able to be honest, right? And so now I have to ask the question, if I don't feel the freedom to be honest, what does that say about where we are? Or what does that say about me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't feel the freedom that I can be honest to kind of say, you hurt me, or this offended me, or we're off, what's going on? If I can't be honest, now I got to reflect on, why do I feel like I can't be honest? And so that's been like let me tell you something. That part has been the growth part, because I'm with you, Pamela. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm done. Bye. I will act like your mama and daddy did not come together and make you. You will be dead to me. Like the queen.
Something else, because when you get to that stage, you have to ask yourself, you have to put your grown-up pants, I call it, to say, I have to sit in my truth. And my truth is sharing with you how you've made me feel. And I'm giving you the floor and being fair about the space I create to share this moment with you and give you time to respond. However, you have to go into it in the back of your mind sometimes that this may not go good, or it may go awry, like you said. But if you've shared your truth, there's nothing more that you can do to actually extend self-love to yourself. That's a form of self-love by sharing your truth.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
There's a way to do it, and you know how to do it if in the maturity that you've even seen that it's something that you need to do. You know that it's important, but you got to sit in your truth. I can recall several girlfriend relationships that hurt me to my core, because all I was doing was being honest and being truthful and giving what I thought I would want to get back, and to not be received in a way that people have walked away from me. People that I have had good relationships with, that I thought we were sister girlfriends and you would be one of my lifetime girlfriends, have totally walked away because I was in my truth. And that used to bother me, and it used to hurt me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what it is about these women. You know, I had that stage. And I got to the point where, Melanie, but that was your truth. Did you do anything to hurt them? No. Were you honest with them in a loving way, sharing with them something that could hurt them in the future, or just being transparent with them? Because that's what I really value. That's one of my core. I need transparency, truth, respect. I need all that in my girlfriend stuff. I need somebody to be able to say, listen, Melanie, you were wrong. And I expect that from my friendship. So when I was in that vein with the friends that I have lost because I was stating my truth, and I wasn't hurtful, I didn't say anything, like you said, Marielle, you didn't say anything crazy. It sort of like may have thrown you off when you were approached with whatever you were approached with. I was totally thrown off guard to the point where I was really hurt. I had to go sit on somebody's couch myself, because I didn't understand how could you throw away years of me being there for you? I've shown you I've been there for you. I've walked with you. I've cried with you. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. But when I come to you in the same way you come to me with my truth, you don't like it. Or you feel betrayed, and then you just like, I'm just going to cut you off. Like, y'all cut off game. I've had that experience with Black women in particular. And so I had to grow to a point where I was like, you know what, but it's not me. It's not me. It has nothing to do with me. It's something that they don't want to either address, or they're not ready to, or they don't see. To your point, Pam, it's been suppressed. Something is going on with them, and I have to give them a grace and give them space to deal with it while in the background, if any of these women that have done that to me come back and want to rekindle a friendship, I'm open to it, because they had to do their work to get to a point where they recognize that it wasn't me. I can't do that for them.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I've learned when I've had that experience. It didn't change. I have some amazing girlfriends, 2 of them sitting right here. And that's because that's because
I love you, girl.
That's because I got to a point where it's not Melanie. It never was you. It's just the experience you experience, and we have to give our girlfriends grace, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been literally the past 2 years, because probably, let's see, about a year or so ago, year and a half ago, no, a year ago, I just went through a really tumultuous time. Like, it was just probably the worst year, like, true story. And for me, therapy was a big part of that, but a lot of that came up in therapy were how I engaged in friendships. And that became a big source of why I was feeling a lot of the things that I was feeling. And I really had to start doing like some homework on, like, okay, no, wait a minute. I have all of these people that I consider to be friends, but I can't tell any, like, cause it was a lot going on. And like, in my therapist, she was like, you don't have anybody that you can tell. Like, I was like, no, cause I felt 2 things. Either I did not trust them, or I didn't want to burden them. So it was like those 2. So either I did trust them, I didn't want to burden them, or I just did not trust them at all. And she gave me an exercise, and I told Mel this in a conversation one time. I was like, she gave me an exercise. We walked through every person that I consider to be a friend. And she was like, so what value are they adding? What's the value of the relationship? And there was too many people on the list where I was like,
nothing. Nothing.
I had to sit. I kept switching in my seat, like,
girl,
it was nothing. And I was like, so wait a minute. So why do I have somebody? Why am I putting any energy into this? And I really had to start thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? In my life, and I'm kind of backing up, because I think this plays a part in how we get to a point with a person. I think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we build friendships based off of proximity and not substance.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Oh, that's so good.
Like, I think, like, I think friendships can start because we were in the same, group, to the same school, we went to the same church, we went whatever it is, but we didn't do the next step of seeing if there's substance there. But just because, right. And for me, I realized a lot of people that I was giving the title of friends to, especially women, they had not earned that. It's like, just, I start calling you that because you were in proximity to me.
Yes.
But and what started to bother me was I started realizing as the friendship was developing, you have no substance. Well, a lot of the problem is first of all, let me say this. If you go to therapy, it changes you, but it also changes your perspective. So you start seeing things.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
And so you're not ready for that, and it's work. It is work. It is work. And one of the things that started to happen was I started seeing it for what it was. So I'm like, so I could look at this woman and I say, she looks like she's together. Like, she has all of, the adult toys. You got the house, you got the car, you got the nice job, you got all this stuff. But then when I kept looking at them, I saw a child and a little girl, and I couldn't unsee that because I would watch their behavior with other people. And so for me, it was like, and me. And I'm like, I can't, no, So I can't unsee that now because you're displaying that. And I'm realizing we started a friendship because we had proximity, but there was nothing else. So now I'm irritated. So now I'm like straight irritated. Like, oh my God. Now I'm looking at everything like, what? That's the little girl and you're doing that again. I can't do that with you. I ain't got the time. I don't have the patience. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so for me, it was, we need to create a clean slate. Like, literally sitting there in that therapist's office that day, I'm never going to forget it. I was like, damn, I maybe got a good 4.
Wow.
And the list was long. I ain't like the list was long. So I was like, I got a good 4. I'm going to invest in those 4 and work those 4 and develop good friendships because there's substance there. And I think that's the thing is sometimes we start these friendships with women that they're not there. And that doesn't make them bad people. First of all, let me say that. It doesn't make them bad people, but I think that proximity factor has tripped a lot of us up and we haven't done the vetting. We have not done the vetting.
Let me if I can share what I had to learn with the most recent one of my friendships that unraveled it, and I had to understand my hardwiring that I brought to the friendship. So growing up in a church that was really strict and was really structured around rules, everything is about belonging. Everything is about fitting in. And I carried that childhood need to belong with me as an adult. That unresolved hardwiring and need to belong, right? Y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
So then I got with a friend, exactly like you said, Marielle, because we were in close proximity and everything that we were a part of, we always ended up together. So we ended up really good friends. And I have this thing that I have always said where I am skeptical of new friendships because I have a fear of judgment. I don't like being judged. I don't like being misunderstood. That also comes from my church and religious upbringing. Like, I just don't like it. It's very uncomfortable for me. What I had to learn in this friendship when it started unraveling, the lesson that I didn't get until afterwards was about boundaries. And because I had this internal need to belong and to fit in and to not be rejected, I was trying to save a friendship that I didn't recognize at the moment that I was the friend. I'm your friend. You're not necessarily mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn that the hard way. Like, it was really, really difficult because I feel like I'm a genuine friend, but I feel like you don't really see how genuine people's love for you is until you do something that they don't agree with. And then the other lesson that I learned as that friendship was falling apart was being obligated to share everything.
Wow.
And because I felt in my friendship like this was my friend, this situation over here, even though it has nothing to do with you, I owe you an explanation about it because we're friends. And I didn't owe anybody an explanation. But because I didn't want to be rejected and I didn't want to be pushed off to the side, I just was like giving information in like panic mode. Like, please don't stop being friends with me. Please understand me. Please understand my point of view. And after it was over, I looked back on it and thought to myself, if that was the feeling that you had and that was what you felt like you needed to do, that wasn't your friend. That wasn't your friend, because your real friend will say, you know what? That's a really shitty situation. And I'm really sorry. And yeah, you messed that up, but I see the value in what you and I have. Aside from this thing that you have going on, you have value to me. And so it's almost like that for me was an eye opener of, if first of all, I don't owe explanations in order to hold on to my friends. My friends will give me time to come to them with whatever I have going on. They will do that for me instead of demanding things from me that I might not be ready to talk about. And then second, on top of that was, I don't need to scramble to find my place and my footing in my friendship if it's a genuine friendship. Like my position with that person should be crystal clear. I don't have to fight for it. I don't have to scramble for it. It's not at risk of disappearing. But that was a really, really, really hard lesson for me to learn. Like, Pamela, like, I know this is painful, but you have to understand, as painful as this is, if scrambling is what you felt like you had to do to hold on to this friendship, that person wasn't your friend.
Agreed. A thousand
Yeah.
percent.
That belonging thing, that took me a minute to work through that. Like,
Yes.
but hey, it's all good.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm one of those people where if I'm not cool with a person, if they ain't talked about my mama, threatened my life, whatever, but fine. But I just may not be cool with you. If I have a friend that's a friend with them, I genuinely don't care. It's just that I don't connect with that person. Now, like I said, if they threaten my life, my mama life, or they are consistently coming against my character, then we gonna have a problem. Then I'm feeling some kind of way because I'm like, wait a minute, because I sense it in my whole soul that if you're with them, keep my name out of everybody's mouth. Just don't say nothing. Have your own friendship, and I'm cool with that. I've never been that friend. Well, I'm not friends with them, so you can't be friends with them. That's that little girl. Like, and a lot of people will see that as you're being disloyal to them. You can't say that. Like, what are we?
That's
don't get so. I don't play those type of games. And I think for me, I just realized how immature a lot of people are in relationships and friendships. They just how they move, how they think about stuff. I'm like, I don't like, I'm that person. If you are irrelevant, or I don't wish you ill or harm or anything, but I don't bring you up. It's just I'm not sitting around talking about, like, that's not that's to me what children do. I just don't do it. Like,
what? I think it's when we get older, we realize the amount of time we don't have to spare.
That's right.
We don't have time. When you get older and you consider the friendships and the relationships that you want to cultivate, you don't have time for extra stuff. All you want is what's valuable, whatever is good, whatever brings good energy my way, whatever is affirming, whatever reassures me, whatever is encouraging me, supporting to me. That's what I need in my space. It's kind of like a care package. It's like, this is the stuff that I need to make sure that my space is as positive and healthy as possible. And so all that extra is just kind of like, I don't have time for that. And so if that's what you want, then cool. But I need you to go over there, because I'm not letting that in my space.
And I think when you get older, that heightened sense of what value are you adding to me comes into play. To your point of when you went through your list, Marielle, and you looked through who was really adding value, this valuable thing, let me tell you, when you get where I am and where me and Pam at, and all of us are, honestly, you really don't. Time goes faster. And so you have to prioritize what you got left. So if you with me and we're on the same page and I can help you get where you going and vice versa, yeah, we can roll. But if you don't, I don't smooth no sleep on people who don't fit where I'm going no more. I used to really have pains about it. To your point, Pam, when you mentioned about, what the struggles you had as far as, mine was people pleasing. I grew up that way, where it was like, I gotta fit in. I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah.
Really speak my voice. I just got to figure out a way just to infiltrate myself and not make any attention on me. That was like my thing. And I lost so much energy, time that I can't get back. But I'm so grateful I'm awakened now to know that no, it's not that deep. It's not personal. It's preservation. Okay? It's not personal. is preservation.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I think this just goes to show, like, you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, you need to go talk to somebody. So when you get into a marriage or dating relationship, that you've already unpacked your stuff. And I'm thinking, no, you need to do it because it's going to affect every type of relationship in your life, from working to friendship. Because literally listen to y'all, like growing up, I just wanted to be accepted. That was it. Like, because I was always that kid that got left out or people forgot about. And so I carried that into my whole adult self.
Yes.
And here I'm almost 35 years old and still that little 5-year-old little girl on the playground just saying, hey, can we just be friends? Like, you know what I'm saying? So you kind of you got to do the work of that because it starts to affect every relationship, not just romantic. Like, not just
it even
that
affects the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yes.
Like, because I identify with that inner child that's like, you know, still struggling to belong, still struggling to fit in, still trying to find their place because they don't think the same, do the same, talk the same. That was me. So it was like, you know, everybody else is real uniform, and then Pamela is over here like a round peg trying to fit into a square hole. You do take that with you. You do. And Melanie, you were talking about grace earlier. It's important for us to give ourselves grace.
Yes.
When it comes to friendships and when it comes to how we're navigating these interpersonal relationships, we have to give ourselves grace because sometimes we don't even recognize that we have this unresolved stuff until we get in a relationship. And then we're like, wait a minute, what is that? What was that? Like, wait a second, what that transference of, you know, you had a situation with somebody from your past and then this person in your future reminds you of that person and then you respond to them like they're that person. It's like all of this unresolved stuff that we come with, that we bring to our friendships, that in our relationships, that we sometimes don't even know we have until something comes up in that relationship. Like, I really identify with being that kid. Like, hey, just talk to me, just play with me, just put me on your team. Don't pick me last. Like, so, you know, just carrying that into like my adulthood and being a grown woman is like, I have to remind myself to be nice to myself, to give myself some grace. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to do that. That's not an issue anymore. You don't need that anymore. Just be good with you first.
Exactly.
Yes. We gotta talk about it. Oh, wait a minute, because this grace thing goes deep, y'all.
It does.
This grace thing goes deep because I know, I talk about myself. You know, back in the day when I wasn't giving myself grace, it felt painful. It felt like pulling the Band-Aid off of a fresh wound, to give myself the same grace I gave everybody around me, and then understand I need to do that for myself first. So I was overcompensating. I put it that way, overcompensating to fit in, overcompensating just to be acknowledged, overcompensating to say, hey, she brings value. And so that grace, when I hear grace, yes, you do need grace. That means you sitting on a couch in your therapy session for 2-3 years, I'm not saying it's going to take that long. I'm just being honest. Give yourself grace to process it, because processing is never a fast thing. It's not expedited. You can't skip steps. You got to go through your process. But part of that is acknowledging that you got a process to go through. Like you said, when you have relationships, that's when stuff starts trickling in and you're like, wait, did I really act like that? Dang, where did that come from? And you got to start digging. You know, I call that the excavation process. You got to start your own excavation emotionally.
That's good, Mel.
Figure out where did this come from? Because it's not the flowers growing on top; it's the root down there that's causing all the stuff to like pan out, and you just flipping off on people. I'll share something. You know, I'll be transparent. I had something happen, you know, about a year ago where I realized that the relationships I had been in with the opposite sex were from a pain point when I was 8 years old. I pick people out of that pain point that was never addressed. And so because I did that, not only with a relationship, relationship with a guy, my friendships were picked in the same way. So I realized that this is not impacting just real, relationship. It's impacting every single relationship with my family, with the type of friends I allow to be in my space. From something I was 8, I had been operating from an 8-year-old perspective. So that excavation process is a real thing, and you're gonna have to be okay with crying through the process. Give yourself grace to cry. Give yourself grace to be upset. Give yourself grace to get that stuff out of your system, and at whatever time it's gonna take. That grace hit me in a special place, because I was like, that thing it goes deep. You got to give yourself that and give yourself permission to have the grace to be better by doing your work. Nobody can do it fully.
That's right.
Exactly.
I think that was a breakdown in Issa and Molly's relationship, is the grace. Like, they didn't give each other that grace. So Molly came into a situation with this relationship with Andrew that was new for her, because Molly has always been about her work. Her work is her boyfriend. That's her relationship. And then she got this relationship with Andrew, and she had to work through her stuff. And then Issa had this thing where she was working on a project for her block party, and I don't think either one of them gave each other grace.
No.
Of, this is the place that I'm in right now. And so the time and the availability that we would normally have for each other, we just don't have it right now. But it's not personal. It's just, I need you to give me some grace for a minute. It doesn't mean that our friendship is falling apart. It doesn't mean that I value you any less. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be your friend anymore, or I don't see what you're doing as important. It's just the grace that, and I'm not saying just that, but that is a big part of what happened to them, because every time the other one wasn't available or the other one didn't follow through, it was an immediate judgment.
Yes.
There wasn't a thought of, so-and-so has this going on, or so-and-so has this going on, and this is new for them. This is uncharted territory. Let me give them some grace. There was none of that. There was none.
Totally agree. Like, I was looking at, somebody had, because we were going to do this episode, and I was like, I need to go back some episodes and some seasons, and somebody had done a compilation of Molly's insecurity. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And there was a season where her coworker gets engaged, and Molly is struggling.
I remember that.
And I brought that back up in my mind, and I was like, Molly. So for me, Molly, there's some issues there, but the thing that I noticed in her friendship with Issa, of why I think there was some tension there. The grace factor was one, but I think the other thing too is Molly had developed this, I got my shit together, and Issa doesn't. And I'm having to be the savior for Issa, right? Yeah. So it's like, I always find with insecure people, because I used to be one of them, is that you need to be needed, or because that adds value to the friendship, that adds value to the relationship, because I know you need me. I know you're not going to be able to make something happen or do something unless I step.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And I had friendships like that, and it was like, no. So I watched so there's a portion, for those of all who have never seen Insecure, listen, just gotta watch the show. This season, Issa is introduced to somebody named Condola, and her and Condola start having a friendship because she's come alongside of Issa to help her with her block party. And Molly starts to see this. So now typically Molly thinks that Issa can't move really without her. She always got to come to Molly. But now here's this new person who is empowering Issa, like, girl, go do it, make it happen. And they're building this friendship, and you start to see that insecurity builds with Molly as she's watching this happen. And I feel like a big part of why she could not celebrate any of the accomplishments that Issa had gone through. Just like Issa said in the argument, you saw struggling at We Got Y'all, which is a place that she used to work. You saw me go through all of this. You know how important this was. You know, when I came to you, you decided that your relationship was more important. And so I know I need to get this done. And so I decided that I'm going to try every avenue. And if people say they want to help me, I'm going to do it. I think she just couldn't handle that. I think there was one of the episodes this season. Issa is trying to get sponsors for the block party. Mm-hmm. All her other friends showed up early, helping her put stuff down on the table.
Yes.
And Molly just Molly like at one point in that episode, she tells Molly, she said, "Girl, I need you to do your thing and do that last so we can get these white people to write checks." Well, it winds up, she didn't need Molly to do that because Issa discovered she was strong enough and was passionate enough about her own project. She could do that.
Yeah.
And so I think seeing that insecurity in Molly, sometimes I think a lot of people have those complexes in these relationships where we connect ourselves to somebody that we don't really see as equal because they need us.
Yes.
I've seen too many friendships, girlfriends like that, where low key they think that person really ain't on their level. It's like, I'm better than her. But yeah, we friends though, because it feeds something in them, that insecurity that they need to feel like they're superior or like that savior complex, like I can come in and save the day. Have y'all had that?
Listen, I've watched people who have developed friendships with other people and it looks like a project. They take them on as a project because it's like, you're not on my level. I'm coming in, I'm gonna help you dress better. I'm gonna help you look better. I'm gonna help you network. I'm gonna help you do all of this stuff. And I'm gonna like love on you with all of this false and fake adoration. And at the end of the day, you do it out of your insecurity because you don't feel like that person is on the same level as you. And you feel like they need you. The need to be needed is an insecurity in itself. Like that's an insecurity by itself. Like you have to think about what is that in me that I'm not fulfilled unless somebody else needs me.
Jeez.
That was me.
It's cool. It's cool if I have something to offer. It's cool if I'm asking you to help me. It's cool if you have a skill that I don't have and I need you to give me some insight. But I don't need to look at my friends and say, they need me in these areas. Let me do this and this and this to make them better. That's not a friend. That's a project.
Yes.
That's a do-it-yourself project.
Exactly. Like that was me. Like, and I realized that, and I had to come to grips with that. Like, why? Because in my mind, it was, if they need me, I'll still have a friend. Because again, it went back to that. I just want to be accepted. I don't want to be by myself. I want to I got a friend. So at least if they need me, then I know that this will be at least one relationship that will keep going because they're going to need me.
And it's affirming. It makes you feel valued.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of those for me were in proximity. A lot of those to me equate to the proximity relationship that we talked about earlier. You know, and some of those, it was like, oh, bless her heart, I'm gonna help her out kind of thing. And then that turns into, you know, when they see you getting stronger, then you become something that of a threat to them.
A threat.
You know, they can you know, they feel like you standing on your 2 feet now and their opinions. It wasn't like you never were already there, but in their minds, you know, surely I just need to polish her up or help her a little bit kind of thing. And then when the value you see in them has changed or you start looking at them funny, they looking like, well, you know, I'm the one that's been here, but I never asked you to do any of what you thought you needed to do for me. I don't know where you got that from. So it's like, as you're maturing, then in a lot of those situations, you're the one that's the most mature. So when your level continues to grow, then they don't see a place for you and they don't know what to do with that. So then now they got an issue with you, like how Molly kept, she was working my nerves when she kept saying them little snide comments to Issa. I was like, you got one more to say, ma'am. We got to talk about this thing. I don't
We're
know.
ready to fight.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, and so that's what I've been seeing, literally. So some people are like, oh, I'm Team Issa, I'm Team Molly. I think for me, that was one of the biggest things that has stuck out in watching them get to that moment was Molly just, like you said, Mel, she just kept making these digs. And I was like, what are those digs about? And I was like, oh, let's do some. I peep your game. You're upset because you're right. As long as you've known her, she has been struggling from the time you met her in college. She did never had it together.
Yep.
She was always struggling. You were always the friend that had it together. She was always coming to you. And now, because she's growing into her own personhood, she's discovering her own passion. She's figuring out what she wants to do. Now, for some reason, that's bothering you. And I was like, oh my God, this girl literally has the savior complex. Literally.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Like, I'm gonna say for me, if a friend tries to fight me, I don't know what you're doing with in your life. I could forgive it, but I don't know if you're gonna be back in my space again. Don't be swelling up, because that's not like I was born and raised in Decatur. That ain't a good idea. Like, I don't like. I was like,
don't send for me, okay? Don't send for me.
Like, do it. Square up, because that's not gonna go the way you think it's gonna go. I don't know personally if I have enough grace that I could get past that. And especially you trying to embarrass me at my event.
Yeah.
That would just, I don't know. But how do y'all feel? Do you think they can get past it? Is it toxic at this point, or you think it's just a transition? They can get past it. Like, Pamela, what you think? Can they get past it?
I honestly think that they can. I'm with you on the whole physical, the physical part of it. Like, if I could have the biggest blow up with my friends. I've had big blow ups with family members that I loved. When I love somebody, I love them to the point of being able to reconcile. That's how far my love goes for them. I don't know about that whole finger in the face situation. I can even deal with the insults, because in heated moments, when you suppressed a bunch of stuff, you are liable to say some stuff you don't mean. That's just how it works. When you're in an emotional moment, you may say stuff you don't really mean it in the moment. It's just how you feel in the moment, right? So it's kind of like, I think that they can reconcile it because they have so much history. What I think is going to be the foundation of whether or not it can be genuine is honesty. Molly is going to have to be honest about how she felt about their positions. Molly had a position of authority in their relationship, and Issa was the underdog. So when Issa started to rise, just like you said, Molly felt her position as her friend was threatened. The only way they can reconcile that is if they are honest with each other. This is how I felt when you started to come up. This is how I felt when you started to be friends with Condola. This is how I felt when I saw you talking to Lawrence. This is how I felt because this is how I saw our relationship. There's no way in the world that they can get a genuine reconciliation if they don't both acknowledge the stuff that they did. Issa has to acknowledge, yeah, this relationship situation was new for you. And I probably should have been more supportive instead of judging you based off of your past behaviors. That's where I messed up. And I took digs at your relationship as a joke based off of your past behaviors in your other relationships. I should not have done that. And then Molly has to just be honest. If they can both be honest, yeah. Because I feel like even with all of the stuff that was going on, that moment on the lawn when they were doing the Cupid shuffle, that connection that they have is a genuine friendship. It is a genuine love for each other. But if they are not honest and they continue to blame each other for how their relationship has come to a head, nah, they can't reconcile if they do that. They have to tell the truth. They have to tell the truth to themselves. They have to tell the truth to each other. They have to be committed to giving each other grace, and they have to be committed to supporting each other. Like for real, for real.
That's good. Mel, do you think they can bounce back? Or is it far gone?
Well, I agree with everything Pam said. And to what she said, I wanted to add that even with giving them that grace, in that grace that they're going to have to give each other, they also have to give grace to grow, be mature.
Yes.
Like you said, life happens. You're going to have a relationship. I may not be in a relationship. You're going to have deaths in your family. You're going to have job change. You're going to have all of those things happen. And I don't feel like they gave each other the grace to grow up either.
No, they didn't.
So because they didn't give the grace to grow up, they started having these feelings, but then also not giving each other an opportunity to talk it through because stuff was moving so fast. Like you said, they got in a rhythm as younger beings in the sense that, okay, well, this is the position I thought I was going to always have to hold. Like you said, she was authority. I'm going to always need you. She never, in her mind, based on how she treated they treated each other, gave them the grace to say, I'm not going to always be in this position. I'm not going to always be the underdog. I think I believe in myself. I got stuff I want to do. I'm not going to always need you to be the priority person that's going to have to help me do stuff. And it sounds like even when they were younger, when they were in high school and they got all this history, there was still resentment and stuff brewing as they got to this point. So even though they had a relationship and they have the history, it doesn't sound like it was the same quality relationship from what we saw. So even with the little rifts, if it was a foundationally healthy kind of situation, the rifts are gonna come, but the severity of the rifts probably would have been a little different. So you would have never got in my face. You would have never been trying to fight me, the person we've been riding out for like 12 years or whatever. You would have never even thought to do that if there weren't unhealthy things happening along the way, even though we got history. So you got to be in a position where you're honest first and foremost with yourself. Look in the mirror, literally, and say, I checked this. I want to say something else.
Say it.
So because I jacked this up, did I do this? Did I mess this up? I've been the best friend, man. I have really been really, really crappy. How long have I been crappy? It's like you got to be that vulnerable with yourself. You got to be vulnerable with yourself first. That leads to honesty. That leads to that trust that Pam talked about, so that you're in a position, and then you can honor when somebody else can do that for you. So if you can't do it for yourself, then you're not even going to be in a position where you want that from the person that you claim to be your friend. You're not even going to be in a position to create the space for someone to be honest with you. Yeah, you may be upset with what they're saying, but that girl loves you, or that man loves you enough to be honest and raw with you because they see that you genuinely don't see whatever it is you're trying to talk about. So I agree that they do have, I think it's salvageable if they allow themselves to be honest, like Pam eloquently said already, but you got to look a little further than that. That whole thing about, being real with yourself, and I really feel like a lot of people aren't real with themselves. They are so used to having the facade of who people have told them they should be or what has been accepted by those people that really ain't their friends anyway. And so now they are lost and trying to figure out, well, who the hell am I? And what do I want? Wow, I've never really asked myself that. What do I like? Is this person even aligned with where I want to be? Where do I want to be? Like those kind of just basic questions a lot of people miss. And so they feel frustrated because, for one, they feel embarrassed that they're at a certain age and they have not figured this out yet. Two, they done invested in people. They have invested years and years with these people that they've claimed to be friends that they're now realizing are not their friends and have never been their friends. So you got to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And sometimes that's hard. If they can go through that, I think they can salvage.
But what if, what about them non-negotiables? Since I want to ask y'all, what are some non-negotiables for you in a relationship where you just like, we can't come back? Like you break this, I don't know if that's gonna, because I feel like there are people who are possibly there. and maybe they're trying to salvage it, but and I think Mel, you alluded to this earlier, those core things that if somebody violates, you just like, yeah, we may just have to part ways.
Mine is harm. Mine is do no harm. Like I'm always I'm always gonna go to the greatest commandment. I'm always gonna go to it. Like, so when I think about non-negotiables and friendships unraveling and falling apart, I think about loving myself, loving my neighbor. It's like the intent to harm. If what you are doing causes harm to me, and I'm not talking about discomfort, because I have friends that do stuff that I'm not comfortable with, that's cool because that's not my business. It's the harm part. It's if what you are doing is causing harm to me mentally, physically, spiritually, then that's a non-negotiable. And there are things that fall up under that. But for me, that's the umbrella. I'm going to always go back to that. I'm going to always go back to that. Like, even if it is, I don't know. I don't know. That's all I have to go on, because I can name a lot of specifics. Like I believe in loyalty. I believe in not breaking my trust. I don't want to be judged. I need you to stand up for me when I'm not present. But all of that for me falls under the greatest commandment, because when you do the opposite, it's harmful to me. So anything that is harmful to me, like we just can't. And it doesn't mean that I'm gonna like dislike you. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna hate you. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna talk bad about you if other people ask. I'm not gonna do that, because it's just not me. My experience with you doesn't mean that that's gonna be somebody else's experience with you. So, that's on them. But for me, it's always gonna come back. It's always gonna come back to that greatest commandment, which is part of why I give people the grace that I do, because I understand that a lot of people don't know how to love themselves. So I give grace right there. But when it comes to me, if it's going to be harmful to me, then I can't, because I lean so heavily on that greatest commandment. Like that is the framework for everything. And if you're doing something that is harmful to me, and I'll say again, not discomfort, but harm to my mental well-being, to my physical well-being, then I can't do it. I can't do it.
That's good.
Me being friends with you, if I'm going to be friends with you and something that you're doing is harming me, then I don't love myself. So I can't do it. I'm not going to do it.
Love it. That's good. Ditto for me, but I'm going to put some specific things out there for me. I'm really big on non-judgmental, to your point of that grace, because I recently got to this point, like in the last 3 or 4 years, because I was not that person. But doing my work and giving myself grace, I've learned that that's one area I need to work on. So don't be judgmental of people and their experiences. You got to be trustworthy, and you got to be honest with me. Your honesty, I want to create the same space I desire, which is for you to be raw and honest. You shouldn't have to tiptoe around me, and I shouldn't have to tiptoe around you. I should be able to be buttoned up on Monday and be crying, bawling on Tuesday, and you don't judge me because I'm having a moment. And I found that to be very rare, but I'm grateful. I have some girlfriends and friends that I actually can just be every side of me. We are very multi-faceted people. And so I don't think it's fair to, people sort of judge you by one way they've seen you or in one vein, because we're very complex. So trustworthy, honesty, non-judgmental, and honest. Those are the things that matter to me.
That's good. And I just want to say this. Just because a friendship ends don't mean it's beef. And I don't know
where you get that from.
It's all good.
I would say it like this. I want you to eat and I want to eat. It's just we ain't got to eat together. I just don't get yours. I'm gonna get mine. God bless it. I don't have any beef with you. I just the friendship just ended. So I don't.
Listen, there is nothing more amusing to me, if I can just say this. There is nothing more amusing to me than being in a space with people I used to be friends with and watching them be extra because they think I care. There's nothing more hilarious to me because I totally subscribe to what you just said. Just because we aren't friends anymore doesn't mean I have hard feelings. What is interesting is when we get in the same space and I watch all of the extra stuff you do to make sure that I see you because you think I feel some kind of way. And I just be thinking, ooh, I need you to conserve your energy because I don't care. I don't care. Like I don't. Because as much as I apply the greatest commandment to somebody else's interaction with me, I apply it to myself with the way that I interact with other people. So if I'm trying to be mindful of my mental health, I'm trying to be mindful of my physical well-being, I can't hold on to that negative stuff because we not even friends no more. So what am I holding on to it for? Like, it's like you moving out of my house, but I'm gonna keep your clothes. For what? What are we doing that for? So yeah, like I don't care about that. I don't care if you get extra friends. I want to be happy and I want you to be happy. And just because we were friends for a period of time doesn't mean we're gonna be friends forever. And I'm cool with that. Like, you don't have to get in my space and then remind me that we're not friends no more. Like, that's a waste of your energy.
Complete waste. I just don't do it. And like I say, if I have moved on, I just don't bring you up.
Yeah.
If you bring me up,
then you have not moved on. Right.
Like I've moved on. I ain't talking bad about you. I wish you well. And I genuinely do. Like people who I still don't talk to, well, there's probably one person I'm still working on that. Like I still have this thing where I'm like, yo.
You just have grace.
You know, I'm still working on that part. But most people I don't really speak to or talk to anymore, I have no beef towards them. I want them successful. I want them healthy. I want their families good. I just don't want you in my space. That's it. Like at all. So y'all, this has been a really good conversation. And I think people need to hear it because what was interesting is I was telling Mel before we started recording was watching the comments every Sunday when Insecure comes on and looking at how many people say this season watching Molly and Issa's friendship has triggered them has been really interesting. So for people who want to reach out to you, follow you, you know, and what you're doing, what's the best way to do that? Mel, I'm gonna start with you. How can they get in touch with you? Where can they follow you, etc.?
Well, you can reach me, Melanie Ivey. You can do melaniedivey.org, or you can do Melanie D. Ivey on Instagram. And you can look for just Melanie Ivey on Facebook. I love to help anybody I can in any way I can. So just reach out.
Perfect. Pamela, how can people reach you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, for me, I'm on Instagram, Pam Sessions. That's PAMSESSIONS on Instagram, Pam Sessions. They can also reach me on Psychology Today. I have a profile on Psychology Today. And those two platforms are the most direct ways of getting in contact with me. And yeah, I'm open to helping anybody, everybody. Yeah.
Like I know both of these women and they are amazing. So you will definitely benefit. Y'all for taking time.
Thank you.